Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Kelsey Rader. I'm the Media Relations Coordinator here at the Toledo Lucas County Public Library. Thank you for joining us here tonight. We hope that those of you who've ordered dinner and a copy of the book delivered by the Blarney Irish Pub are enjoying your meal. And if you're interested in joining us for future author events, you have 3 different ways that you can join us. You can watch for free on our Toledo Library's Facebook page. You can purchase a copy of the book for pickup at your preferred branch and watch the event through a secured Zoom link. Or if you are local, you can purchase the enhanced experience, which includes that dinner and a copy of the book delivered right to your door. You don't even have to leave the house. And you can watch that featured author through a secured Zoom link. Now, some of these upcoming authors include Nikki Giovanni on October 23rd and Dr. Michael Roizen on October 26th. These upcoming events include options for that enhanced experience with that special meal delivered right to your door. You can check out those menus and the dates on our webpage at toledolibrary.org/authors. Right now, it's right on the front of the webpage, so if you go right there, you'll be able to find it. Now, none of this would be possible without the generous financial support of the Library Legacy Foundation. As you know, gifts to the foundation allow the library to host great programs just like tonight's conversation and countless other programs and services that are so vital to our community. Now, we're also incredibly thankful for our presenting media sponsors, The Blade and Buckeye Broadband, our supporting sponsors, the Bureau Group, and our community sponsor, the Friends of the Library. Now, our program tonight is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel later. We have staff monitoring on Facebook Live, as well as this Zoom chat function as well. So please comment your questions and throughout the discussion, and Teresa will answer. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for the evening. He's our executive director here at the Toledo Lucas County Public Library, Jason Kuchma. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Great, Kelsey. Thanks. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just jump into it. I know everyone's eager tonight. So our featured author for the evening, she's been practicing medium for more than 10 years. She's certified with the Forever Family Foundation and the star of the TLC show Long Island Medium, which is currently filming to air later this year. She'll actually talk about it. I was just talking to her a few moments ago, so she'll be discussing that. She's also launching a podcast on October 15th called Hey Spirit. Now, in her latest book, Good Morning, Moving Through Everyday Losses with Wisdom from the Other Side, she shares her own experiences with loss and the lessons she has learned in her own life. Welcome, Theresa Caputo.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Thanks, Kelsey, for that amazing intro. Hi, Jason. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you, Ms. Caputo. Can I call you Teresa?
Of course. Just don't call me late for dinner. That's all.
Thank you, Kelsey. Really appreciate that. Nice to meet you virtually. It's so nice to join you. Where are we meeting you tonight? Where are we finding you this evening? You're at home.
You can find me, as I refer to it, as the Ville. That's in Hicksville, Long Island. I'm home. We just got done wrapping up shooting today for Long Island Medium. So this is how long does it my day today with you guys.
So we're rounding out your day. What's a day shooting for Long Island Medium look like for you? I mean, how long is that?
Well, right now we're just doing Zoom readings. So it's really pretty cool. You know, I love doing what I do, but it's still so weird to me, like not being able to touch someone or to hold someone's hand. Because I was fortunate through the pandemic to quarantine with my children, and my parents live right next door. So I was able to quarantine with them. So I kind of had that, I was fortunate enough to have that human interaction. So I kind of missed that with my work, you know, but I'm still able to heal people. It's amazing on how spirit comes through. It's just incredible.
Well, we appreciate you taking time with us. We'll spend the next 45 minutes or an hour or so just chatting with you and learning a little bit more about your book and everything about you. So, and we have a lot of people that are interested. And as Kelsey was mentioning, some of our viewers are enjoying a nice meal tonight, which is a nice treat for them.
Yes, it's so
nice. I know you have copies of your book behind you. I have a copy here as well, although I don't have my video mirrored, so it's backwards. To get things started, there are plenty of folks I think who are watching who are new fans, possibly. How long have you been a medium?
Oh, so I'm just trying to put up my volume a little bit. So I've been, I've been well, a practicing medium since my early 30s, for it's probably almost 20 years now. But I've been sensing and feeling the souls of the departed since I'm 4. And I didn't realize what I was sensing and feeling until later in my 20s is when I really embraced my gift. I just thought everyone was sensing and feeling the things that I was. And I really believe what I've learned through my gift, Jason, is that people, we still have that connection with our loved ones. The only thing that we lose is that physical connection. That soul bond can never and will never be broken. And I'm just able to connect with everyone else's loved ones. I'm able, they make me feel how the person that I'm reading feels, how they feel. So, and that's how they deliver healing messages, to give us the gift. I don't like to use the word closure because I feel closure is so final. And I think what I do as a medium is to prove that there is more to life than just here in the physical world. Not to quote my first book, but
right.
you know, and to validate for people that the things that they're sensing and feeling is real, and that they're not crazy, that it is their loved ones letting them know that they are still with them, just in a different way.
I wasn't planning to ask you this until later, but I'm curious. So what, you know, as someone who's a medium, what sort of skills do you, I guess, bring to people that can help improve their relationships with people who are still with us? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, there's work that you're doing that, how do you help people appreciate and understand and build, as you said, there's that connection and it's always there, physical or not.
Yeah, I think, you know, it all depends on everyone. For people that have been passed on, the validations of, because spirit will talk about things that you're experiencing, things that you've witnessed, and you know what you sense and what you feel, right? And what you see. And someone might not know about those things. So how would I find out about those things? You know, and spirit will come through. Like if you're having difficulties with people here in the physical world, they'll come through and they'll acknowledge that. They'll acknowledge like what might be going on, that there might be a separation between, you know, people. Maybe things have happened after they died. And they're always there just supporting us. They're never like telling us, at least I don't use my gift in this way, to tell us what we should or shouldn't do, that who's right, who's wrong. They just acknowledge what's going on. And I always find them supportive of our choices and decisions.
So this book, Good Morning, you're talking a lot about setbacks, you know, not just death, but sort of large and small grief that we're dealing with. What made you want to write about this?
So the first thing that I want to share, Jason, is that the thing about Good Morning is that this book is not just for someone that lost a loved one. It's very different from my other books. Good Morning talks about daily losses, because what I noticed probably about 4 years ago, I noticed that spirit would come through and say, you know what, you can't even begin to start to heal and grieve my loss. You have all these other things that you've stuffed inside that you didn't deal with. And this is why it's so hard for you now, because it's almost like, you know, making that mountain out of a molehill, right? When we just keep stuffing things in. And I noticed that, and it would come up quite often. And I said, you know, I think I felt the need to write about these daily losses. And basically what a daily loss is in a nutshell, if people are like, well, what is a daily loss anyway? And it's basically we grieve and mourn what once was. I don't care what it is. Topics that I wrote about, people never even thought about. Oh my God, I never thought about that. I was mourning the loss of an argument, right? Wrote about a loss of an argument, losing a friend, losing youth, losing stability, losing safety. I mean, and I think anyone, even if they haven't lost someone, they can connect with feeling that they've lost something in these past 8 months over this pandemic. None of us were prepared for this. And I think Good Morning also gives us the comfort and peace in knowing, you know what, you're not alone. You have every right to feel the way that you feel. We need to honor the feelings, good and bad. And we need to take what we've learned from these losses, take the positive things that we've learned and how we've changed. And then anything else kind of get rid of. Like, get rid of the things that serve you no purpose.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've, you know, here at the library, obviously working with our staff and talking about change management, and we talk about change in the same terms that we talk about loss. I mean, because I think, you know, any type of loss can be seen as a sort of, or any type of change can be seen as a sort of type of loss, a loss of that thing behind you. And I think it's important, that message is important, that we need to give ourselves permission to, you know, sort of acknowledge grief and loss right now, especially, you know, I think so many of us are really hard on ourselves. This book came out at a pretty timely moment for you. And when were you writing this book? And when did you, obviously it was before the pandemic hit, but it seems very timely.
I wrote the book over a year ago. It was a year ago.
Yeah.
And it was always scheduled to come out in October of 2020, because like all my books, they've all come out with, you know, with the premiere of Long Island Medium and my touring. Because when I would tour and be on the road and do live events, where, you know, being Toledo is one of them, I've been there many times, I was able to do a book tour along with my live shows. So that's why they always release together. And October was always a big touring month for me. So it is very, it's not a coincidence. And it's not that, you know, I don't use my gift in predicting things, or, because I always say if I did, I would have asked them for the lotto numbers years ago instead of busting my butt channeling dead people. You know, so, and everything that we're feeling that we might have feel that we've lost, we've all gone through within these past 8 months. And I think one of my favorite chapters, Jason, in this book is the will to endure. And I think some of us have that with the loss of a loved one. They find it really hard to move forward, and, or how. And I think a lot of people are saying that now, like, what does my new normal look like? Like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, how am I going to do this? And the thing that I love about also Good Morning is the little mantras that I give throughout the chapters. And, you know, it's like, you know what, I, you know, maybe feeling down and, you know, today, but, you know, I'm determined to have a better tomorrow. So I give you these little positive mantras to remind yourself to kind of stay on that positive path.
And talk about that a little bit more, because the book is set up, it's not just stories, and it's set up with the mantras and you structure it also with it's almost like a workbook. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about how that came to be.
Yeah, I feel like it's important because like what I noticed, you know, with my clients, you know, they'd be like, okay, this is great. I got these healing messages, but now I don't have the tools to move forward. How am I going to do this? So that's why I believe it's in the chapter with losing faith. And it's like, and a lot of people lose faith. And sometimes it's just in life in general. Maybe it is an afterlife. Maybe it is God, and or whatever they believe in. And in that chapter, we have a good morning also, which is that exercise. So I kind of tell people to just place yourself in a safe place and kind of revisit your faith. You know, kind of feel, you know, God or what it was like when you had your faith. And, you know, create a safe space for yourself. So I try to give those little tips and tools to help you, you know?
Absolutely. We have, you know, there are a lot of poignant stories in here. Some of them are your clients and some of them are your own, including bravely sharing your experience with your divorce a few years back. How did writing this book help you heal?
It absolutely helped me heal because, you know, I thought about it, you know, I did a lot of soul searching when I discovered my gift. You know, I had to go through and like soul search, and I did it again when I was, you know, struggling. And I realized, you know, because you know, things don't happen overnight. You just don't wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm not happy. You know, and I find that it's hard to recognize that you're not happy, right? And that things, whether it be a friendship, maybe it's with a relationship with your parents or siblings or your spouse. It's like these little things that chip away and chip away and chip away. And I'd say, oh, well, you know what? Well, you know what? Last summer, I was struggling. And then I go, well, you know what? It really started then at the holidays. And then I finally kept going back and back and back. And I realized when I started to change and feel and grow, and all things happen in my life that I kind of put Band-Aids on. And when I started lifting the Band-Aids of these events, I realized I just like kind of stuffed them away, and that, you know, kind of, we put Band-Aids on our emotions. I think that's a good thing for people to kind of understand. We busy ourselves what was going on. And I used the example of when my grandmother got sick. And, you know, then I was focusing all my energy on her and being with her and spending time with her. And, you know, and then after she passed, then it was my grandfather. We were taking care of him. And, you know, so we were able to kind of divert. And I think we all can say that we do that with emotions, you know, because let's face it, Jason, things that are uncomfortable, like our feelings and emotions, right? When we're so uncomfortable, that's when we change, because we're really like, all right, this is uncomfortable. How can I change this, right? And again, I think that's something that we can all deal with now. We don't want to deal with losing our job or losing our freedom, right? But that's basically what we all lost. It's so hard. And to come to grips with that, you know, and we were like kind of forced to, we were like kind of forced to deal with all of our emotions, right? So it's either people now are either getting divorced or they're pregnant. Right?
Right. Yeah. There are a lot of COVID babies happening in the world right now. You know, and it's interesting, you know, we, as you said, you know, we put Band-Aids on things, and why do you think, so in your experience, why is it so hard for us to talk about that sort of suffering and loss and that kind of anguish
I think it makes
in a way that's productive?
I think it makes us vulnerable, right? Or people might view it as weak, right? Like, and it's not. Like, I think it was incredibly powerful and strong for, you know, someone to like step up and talk about their emotions or to express that they're not happy and, you know, what's really going on with them. To really be that in touch with their feelings is really incredible. And I view it as someone that has strength and determination, you know. And it's not just settling for less, whatever it is. You know, it's the same thing in your job. If you're unhappy with your job, like you just want to sit there and just be miserable. Oh, I don't like my job. This is terrible. I don't want to go to work. Well, do something about it. How can you improve your workspace? What would make you feel better? Would it be to express to your boss that you're not, you know, feeling fulfilled or, you know, and it's hard because you don't want people, we never want people to think that we're weak or that we're struggling. And I tell people, it's like, oh my God, you were so positive and upbeat during the pandemic. I'm like, listen, you don't think I had my days? I'm human just like you. I had my days, but I chose not to leave myself in that funk, right? I didn't wallow in it. I allowed myself to feel, maybe I refer to it as a pity party for a day or that moment. But then I was like, you know what? It's not happening tomorrow. Like I was determined to like not carry it over. And that's how, you know, depression and other things, you know, get, you know, in how things build up. And then that's how sadness and sorrow, anxiety, depression. And I wasn't willing to go down that road. I refused to go down that road. I refused to allow things that I had no control over to keep me down or to, you know, make me feel less of myself or insecure about what was going on. It's just, I just took control over the things that I could control. And anything else I didn't focus on.
Yeah, focus on the things you can control and let those. So, and I don't know, you know, folks know your history. I mean, you do have a history of anxiety. And so talk a little bit about how, I guess, what your daily practice looks like today right now. And, you know, as somebody, you know, there are plenty of folks watching right now who probably are dealing with anxiety or dealing with depression. What does sort of daily practice look like for Theresa Caputo and sort of dealing with something right now, which is completely out of our realm of experience at this moment?
I choose to be kind to myself. I acknowledge if I'm not having the best day, and it's okay, you know, but I'm not going to allow myself to stay in that. I always wake up every morning and I always thank God for all the blessings that I have, all the things that I'm thankful for and blessed, and meditation. And I just try to stay grounded. And, you know, throughout the day, like I'll just sometimes like things would just get to me, especially, you know, because my daughter had struggled with anxiety through the pandemic. She was very open about it. She spoke on my social media about it to help people. And how many people were responding to that? And they were saying, I don't know what to do. What can I do to help my daughter? And you know, the best thing is sometimes just listen to someone. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing. Just sit and listen And you're not going to be able to understand it. And it's okay that you don't understand why someone is having anxiety, or even for yourself, if you don't, why am I feeling this way? You know what? I understand my life isn't back to normal, but I still have a lot of anxiety. Well, you know what? I think it's normal in these times, that because nothing is certain. We still don't really know like what's going on, right? We know that we can go out with a mask. When are we going to get back to a new normal? So I think there's just a lot of anxiety around that in general.
Absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned in the book that grief is different from healing. Can you talk a little bit more about how you define those two?
So I feel, and what I've learned through what I do, is that we will grieve the loss of our loved ones. We will grieve what we've lost for the rest of our lives, but healing is something completely different. To be able to heal. And so, for example, I'll use the example of losing a friend. If you look at that friendship and you look at maybe how if you handled something differently, or even if you don't know why that friendship ended, realize and look at the relationship and look at things of how could I have been a better friend, or how could I have been a better listener or done things differently. You can still grieve that loss of that friend, but you've just became a better friend, most likely, if you realize that, oh, you know what, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to talk to someone like that, right? Or I'm not going to expect that from them. And to me, that's healing, because then you're moving forward in your other friendships. When you can put one foot in front of the other and tackle on another day or a new relationship in a positive way, to me, that's healing.
So, and to some extent, that lack of that uncomfortability, that we learn from being uncomfortable, and so being uncomfortable with that grief helps us learn and
because that's all about change. How do you change if you don't grow and learn, right? If you don't realize different things about yourself and about others.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about the actual process of writing this book. It is daunting to sometimes sit down in front of a computer and you see that blank page and the cursor just blinking at you. How long did it take you to write Good Morning?
Well, I have to say, I don't like to refer to her as a ghostwriter, but I have an amazing spirit writer, Christina Gersh, and she has written all the books with me. We just sit and we just talk for hours. It was like, all right, well, what do you want to write about? And I'm like, this is what I want to write about. And I will just go on and on and on. And, that's how I came up with some of the chapters. I'm like, okay, well, I want to talk about daily losses. And then she would say to me, well, what is a loss? And I'm like, well, a loss is anything that we mourn, what once was, but we don't have anymore. And then it's like, okay, there are daily losses. And she would like tease me and be like, oh, do you mean that, you didn't win on a scratch off lottery? I'm like, no, that doesn't count. But it was, a process of realizing, okay, what are losses that I felt that have helped me become, a stronger and a better person, and what are things, and then also from my clients, what I realized, like, I'd be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe this person needed to heal this loss of this argument. Think about it. Even what if you have an argument before someone passes, or you say something to them and then they pass away? Oh my God, thinking about that argument and then you feeling like, oh my God, I said all these things. Whether if you lost the argument or not, like you said these things to someone and now you cannot apologize to them, right? You feel like you can't make that right. And that's something, so those are examples of how I started with like losing an argument and how that can affect you. Because think about it, anything that we hold on to that's negative, right? And we stuff it deep down in our souls, we become bitter, angry, resentful. You don't want any of that to happen. And that's with anything, right? Job, for example. If you're unhappy at your job, you're going to become bitter and angry. And then you're going to resent your boss and everyone that you work for or that you work with. And that's no way to live.
Yeah, it's certainly a learning process for folks to be able to deal with, how do we deal with those feelings and how do we make them, more productive? The book, as you mentioned, your spirit writer worked with you on this. What sort of setbacks did you run into? I mean, and certainly books like this, a book doesn't necessarily happen without any kind of obstacles or challenges. What were the sort of challenges you had to deal with in working on this?
I think that the challenges for me with writing is probably my grammar.
All of us, yes.
I always say to people, goes, oh, do you speak another language? I'm like, I have enough trouble with speaking English. Forget another language. I think for me is, you know, like I know what I want to say, and I'm a very, some people refer to it as dramatic. I like to use the word, I'm very expressive and very passionate. And for me, that's hard to like kind of put on paper. And that's what I think Christina does an amazing job of, what I'm feeling, my passion, you know. And also it's hard to talk about stories of my clients, you know, you know, and for them to be so brave to share their stories in all of my books, especially Good Morning, like we talked about, you know, losing a home. You know, a lot of people, it wasn't to finances. The stories that we wrote about were about people losing their home to a fire, and they lost one of them, they lost loved ones in the fire. So not only did they lose their home, they lost someone. So, you know, I think it's difficult for me to go back and to like kind of, you know, really determine on what clients and what stories would really be able to help someone, because it's hard. It's so hard to do that, because it's somebody's loss, you know?
Really. And you mentioned your clients and their stories are featured prominently in the book. How does that conversation happen? What does that relationship look like, that they have that trust with you and frankly just the permission to be able to use those stories? How does that conversation?
Well, you know what, Jason? I think it just really shows. I say it all the time to all my clients. I say, I thank you for giving me the honor and the privilege of sharing my gift with you. But more importantly, the fact that they trust me with the souls of their departed loved ones to be able to deliver the healing and the peace that they need, but most importantly deserve, you know. And it just goes to show on how we reach out, and you know, we realize that it can help so many people, and the healing that they receive, they want other people to heal from their story. And you know, I don't like to use even the word fans or clients. I feel like they're part of my family, you know. It's because it's such an intimate moment that you have when you have a reading, to be able to connect someone with someone's departed loved one and know that someone is struggling moving forward with their life, and knowing that they came and I shared my gift with them and it changed their life in a positive way, and they're able to quote unquote live again. And I say quote unquote because, Jason, there are sometimes people come and their loved ones are telling me that they don't want to live anymore because of losing someone. And the fact that they turn their lives around and realize that they have a lot to live for. They have a lot of things still to achieve here in the physical world, and then them wanting to stay. That I find that all of the people that support what I do and my spirit family, that they want to help others through their stories, what they learned by their experience of being reconnected with the soul of their departed loved ones. And I find that absolutely incredible and brave. You know, my clients say to me all the time, Jason, like, oh my God, I look up to you. You're my idol. I love what you do. And I'm like, listen, I look up to you guys. I feel I have the easy part. I have the easy part, connecting you with the souls of your departed loved one. You have the hardest part. You have to hear these messages, which is so hard, and then move forward and get up every day and put one foot in front of the other and try to have an amazing day and live your life with happiness and joy. Like, I am so proud of them for that. To me, they're my idols. That's why I do what I do.
And so it's pretty easy for them to want to share those stories.
Yeah.
Have you run into any instances where you've had a client say, no way, I don't want this story. I don't want you to share the story. This is my story. This is,
I don't recall. I don't recall.
Just curious. Yeah.
But I don't recall. It's so interesting. Jason, I don't know if you ever watched my show, Long Island Medium, but I do, if I'm out and about and spirit wants to get a message, I do these spontaneous readings. And, you know, I always have rules of when spirit, they know who needs to hear the healing messages. And there has never been one time when I better knock on some wood here. There's never been one time when I was out and about and delivered a message to someone and they were like, who are you, crazy lady? And get away from me. I don't, no one has ever said that to me. And that's how I know my gift and what I do is guided by spirit. And if you don't mind me using the term, by God. So.
Mm-hmm. One of our viewers, Karen, wants to know that we talked a little bit about the process of writing and working with your colleague, and you also, with a family, and you've got your show. How do you find time to write a book? Like, how do you manage your time as someone with so many things going on at the same time?
We would get together for a weekend and lock ourselves in a hotel room for an entire weekend. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just dedicate and block out, time, and I made the time because it's important. It was important for me to write these books.
Yeah.
And my brother says it all the time. My brother's like, how in the world did you write 4 books? He goes, let alone 3 of them New York Times bestsellers. He's like, this is baffling to me. Because my brother's the reader, not me. I would say my brother's the smart one in the family.
How many siblings do you have in your family?
I just have one brother.
What does he do for his living?
He has 2 practices. He's a sports physical therapist.
Excellent. I wanted to ask a little bit about the show. Let's talk about the TV show a little bit. As you said earlier, they were recording at your house. How are you doing readings remotely right now via Zoom? How does that work, or how does that change your practice or affect things?
The only thing that it has changed is that I can't physically touch them. If you watch Long Island Medium, you'll see me like I hug everyone that would walk into my home. If I walked in their home, I would reach over the table and hold their hand to comfort them. And that's really the only thing that is missing. But I think what the viewers are going to see this season is, I think that, because people always ask me, what is it like when you channel spirit? And I think that they're going to be able to really feel that more this season, believe it or not, because think about it. I say it all the time. The only thing that we lose when we lose a loved one is that physical connection. That soul bond can never and will never be broken. Here I am now, virtually, not in person, not physically in person, and still be able to deliver these healing messages. And the emotion and the unbelievable validations that spirit gives is absolutely incredible. And it's people from all over. So I'm reading people all over the country, Canada. It really, really is amazing.
There are benefits or to us being remote, that we've been able to have much more access. We're able to have you here, where you're able to invite us into your living room.
Exactly. I think about it, like how, and for me at 53, I am petrified of technology. Petrified, and now I feel like I might be able to apply for a job at the Genius Bar at this point.
Right. Everyone's been forced to get a lot more familiar and comfortable with that technology.
And you know what it is? Like, things aren't as easy, like there's like, oh yeah, we're just going to do Zoom readings. And you think it's easy. It is not easy. The clients are setting up, iPhones and computers and what are those called? iPads, and it's just, it's incredible, but I discovered, and I knew it wouldn't be a problem because, during this pandemic, all I wanted to do was really help people. And I was like, how can I do this? We couldn't film, we couldn't do anything. And I was like, you know what? I started a podcast. So that's coming out later this month on October 15th. And I'm reading people all over the world. So I always say this is the one positive thing that for me, what the pandemic has brought, was that I'm able to connect with people that let alone would ever think that they would meet me or see me in person, let alone get a reading. Even though it's virtually, they're still getting the healing messages that they need, and more importantly, that they deserve.
And Kelsey mentioned that at the top of our meeting. What was the name of the podcast again, for folks who want to tune in?
Hey, Spirit.
Got it.
Because I always remember, I'm like, hey guys, hey Jason, hey Kelsey, hey Toledo, Ohio. I'm always like, hey. So why not call it Hey Spirit? It's me, Theresa Caputo.
Excellent. You mentioned that you had an inkling of this experience very young, but it wasn't until you were in your 20s. how did you end up getting the show? Like, what did that look like? How does someone go from doing reading to getting
Actually, she's here. I doubt she'll come. Victoria, you want to come over here? Just show your face. This is one of the women that is responsible for where I am. She's responsible for this hot mess.
It's all her fault.
It's all her fault and her sister. This is Victoria Mullen Woods. And I've known Victoria for many years. And unfortunately, she lost her father. And her sister, Courtney, is a television producer. She worked for MTV and she produced, I don't know if you remember the show TRL back in the day. Rumor had it, I know nothing about the show, Jason. I'm too young for that. And, you know, Victoria said, you know, she was having a discussion with Courtney and she's like, everyone deserves to have the gift of healing. You know, she needs a television show. So Courtney had came to me and I'm like, all right, I'll shoot a couple of episodes. I'm thinking, right? Like, all right, what's going to happen? And here I am 10 years later. Can you believe this happened 10 years ago? Never thought in a million years that I would be on TV, let alone traveling the country on a tour bus, writing books, having a podcast. I never thought in a million years, but you know what? It just shows like
I did.
Obviously you did. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was the same thing, you know, embracing my gift. You know, I had no idea, but I wouldn't have traded anything. And you know, maybe that's why I'm still so successful, is that I've never thought for 1 minute that this is where my life would be. I never take anything for granted. I feel that everything is a blessing. And clearly I feel that the world was seeking for something like my gift and some type of healing. And, you know, I guess I know that this is my soul's journey. You know, I say it all the time. I always felt like there was always something missing, like just like deep in my soul, right?
Yeah.
Victoria hates the camera. She's like, I'm scooting out. Like, so the fact that you're on, that's an applaud to you because
I do just want to say that what Teresa too, she has not changed at all. We've known each other 20 years. This is the woman I met. This is the woman 20 years later. She's so authentic. And
I think I'm a little chubbier though.
Oh,
stop.
We all are after COVID right now. We've all got to.
It's funny. We did an episode. I think it was maybe like 2 years ago with my friends. I'm still friends with them from I've known them since I'm 14. And one of them is a pilot and for a commercial airline. And people would ask him all the time, she cannot be that dramatic. And he's like, you know what? You're right. She's not. She's far more dramatic in person than she is on TV. Yeah. Like what you see is what you get, you know? But it's the fact, like, even if I'm just out and about in the stores and people are just like, oh, it's you. Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. What are you doing here? I'm doing the same thing you are, you know? And the fact that I'm just out and about and interacting with just people in my community is, you know, I'm just like everybody else. So
I may or may not be the only person viewing who's been to Hicksville before. So I lived in New York City for about almost a decade, and we spent some time. We did one of our weekend vacations in Hicksville. So yeah, I know. Yeah.
Did you?
I did not run into you.
Isn't there a Hicksville, Ohio?
That's a good question. There probably is.
I think there is.
I've never been there.
Wait, I want to know. Wait, you vacationed in Hicksville? What thing did you vacation?
It was a very early Airbnb thing. A situation where we ended up out in somebody's home, like their weekend, you know, home in Hicksville.
Oh.
So, who knows? I don't even remember. It was so long ago. One of our viewers wants to know. Actually, they just commented that they saw the lights flickering and the cat is meowing and staring at the ceiling. And they wondered if that was a sign.
I always say the best thing about signs and symbols, because people will ask me that, how do I connect? Like, I'm telling my father, you know, I want to see 4 red cardinals and 2 butterflies. I know it's you. You can't do that. The signs and symbols, when spirit reaches out, it's the things that go on that there's no explanation. It's when the light flickers. Animals and young children are very sensitive to the souls of the departed because they're seeing, because their minds aren't busy and bogged down with burdens, guilt, or just busyness of a day. That's why we sense the souls more when our minds are at rest. When we sleep, when we first wake up, sometimes when we're vacuuming, blow drying our hair, or maybe taking a shower because we're at rest, like we're kind of we're not maybe thinking of so many things. So whatever it is that goes on around you, and whoever you think that it is, know that that's them. That's your connection, your bonds. Nobody can tell you how you should connect with your departed loved ones, what's right and what's wrong.
What does it feel like for you as, and this is one of the questions from the folks that signed up early, what does it feel like for you as a medium in one of those experiences?
When I feel spirit?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So when I channel, one of my first things when I first start channeling spirit is they make me feel the bond and relationship. I don't even know what that is. Like, I'll just be like, who's the mom that passed? There's a mother figure stepping forward. So it could be a mother, grandmother, or it might have just been someone like a mother to you. Then they usually make me feel how they passed. So sometimes I get like a shortness in the chest, and I have difficulty breathing. That means that they pass from something of the heart, lungs, or chest. When spirit restricts my throat area, it means that they couldn't communicate in the end, or they had something with their throat. And then if they make me feel really, really tight and they pull me back, that means that someone actually took their own life. If someone passed tragically, they will make me taste blood, which is my sin. And I taste it for like a split second. And sometimes they will make me just feel like I'll get like a pain in my stomach if someone passed from like stomach cancer. When spirit hits, I feel like someone hit me in the back of the head. That means that someone passed tragically and that they passed instantly. There was no suffering to their departure. So it's just, I feel these things, but a lot of it it's just like this knowing. I can't explain it. I always say, Jason, to people, I'm like, I wish I had this really cool thing that happens, you know, like when I'm connecting with spirit and when they're giving me signs and symbols. But it's just, I don't know, because I've always been like this. I've always sensed and felt things. And just what I didn't learn how to be a medium. What I learned was how to interpret what they were trying to tell me. So for example, say like my signs and symbols. So like they'll just show me flashes of things that I've experienced here in the physical world to be able to relay messages. So I was doing a reading before I came on today, and the gentleman's dad had said, you don't have a final resting place for me. So usually when spirit shows me a tree and a bench, it's my symbol for that we did something in memory of them, whether it be a monument, it could be a garden, maybe it was actually a tree and or a bench. And but your dad's making me feel like that you didn't have that opportunity, and it's fine on how you laid him to rest. I said, but the bench is important. And he said that you're right, I wasn't able to lay my dad to rest the way I wanted to because of COVID. And he said, the bench is important because the bench, we did a bench in memory of my brother, and my father sat on that bench and cried for the first time of my brother's passing. It was on that bench. And the brother was the one telling me about the bench and the tree. So that became a new symbol for me, a new meaning for a tree and a bench, of feeling like you don't have to really do anything, just thinking of them. You did in honor, and you love and honor them every day of your life. It doesn't have to be anything physical to do for them. What we do with their physical bodies is for us. They're not a part of it. So I don't mean to sound cold when I say they don't care what we do with the physical body, but it's more for us here in the physical world.
One of our viewers had a question that I was just thinking of the same thing, which is that, you know, it takes us, as children, we learn language quickly. As adults, it takes us a long time to learn a language. How long did it take you to sort of understand, decipher, and interpret these symbols?
Long time. I'm still learning. I add to I refer to it as my spirit library. I add to it all the time because my life experience changes. And like I just used the example of the tree and the bench, you know, like that was just for that. So now it's become my symbol of where someone felt like they couldn't do anything in memory or like really honor their loved ones because of COVID. So my signs and symbols are always changing. So I know, like, there are certain things like I know I can't misinterpret something. So I will list all my meanings for it. And then someone might say to them, they might say, like, for example, when Spirit showed me a bowl of oatmeal, it would be that someone liked oatmeal, right? Or they enjoyed breakfast. So one day they showed me like 7 bowls of oatmeal and then paste in a driveway. And I'm like, it just came out of my mouth. I'm like, was your dad very routine? Like he had to do the same thing every single day? And she's like, yes. So it's just, this is how signs and symbols, like they just get me to start to say something. And if they say no, then I'm like, well, how do you connect with that? How does that make sense to you? Doesn't make sense to me. So.
It makes sense to me. But what
I'm glad
there are folks.
I was just thinking to myself, I don't even know if I understand myself.
There are folks, obviously, there are a lot of folks who really appreciate the work you're doing, but there are certainly skeptics out there. What is your response to them, and how do you sort of talk with those folks?
Listen, I get it. I am the first one, Jason, to say, who in the world can connect with someone that has died? You're crazy. First one to say it. It's absolutely insane. But Spirit has me talk about things that only you would know about. So I always say to my clients, there are common things, there are common ways that people die, and there are common burdens and guilt that we might carry. So with every healing message Spirit has me deliver, they have to validate it, something unique to the person that they're speaking to. And it could be something so random and crazy, and there's no way that I can find out about it. And look, I'm not asking anyone to believe in what I do. I don't care if people believe in mediums. That's not why I do what I do. I want people to truly know that there's more to life than this. And more importantly, that they still have that bond with their departed loved ones. That soul bond can never and will never be broken. The thing that I love, Jason, people say, I don't know if I believe in what you do, and I don't connect with my loved ones. I get this a lot. And then the soul will say, well, ask them about the shadow that they saw in the hallway last night. Or the time when they thought they smelt my cologne. And they're like, yeah, I did. I smelt my dad's cologne and I thought of him. I'm like, that's a sign. It doesn't mean that then you have to believe in mediums. I want you to believe in yourself.
Do other members of your family have this gift or have experienced this gift?
Yes. So there's a long line. My mom is I come from a very spiritual family and a very strong faith family. And like I said, I believe we all have this bond and connection. I'm just able to connect with everyone's loved ones. Or maybe I'm just crazy enough to answer them. Yeah. It's one or the other.
Which can be overwhelming. Does it ever, like, how do you turn it off? How do you turn it off? How do you find respite or peace for yourself at times?
I think Spirit has kind of, because my life is so busy, like I used to work hard at like imagining a door closing at the top of my head. And I have this rule with Spirit. If you show me 3 things, like I could feel I can feel a soul with me. If they push me enough 3 times to get me to say something, then I'll say something. So what people don't understand, it's actually harder for me to not acknowledge Spirit because it takes a lot more energy to ignore. It's the same thing. It takes a lot of energy to be cranky, right? It's easier to be happy, right? So it's easier for me to acknowledge, just say what it is that they want me to say, and then I can move on. People ask me if they think of my gift as a burden, and absolutely not. I consider it an honor and a privilege to channel the souls of the departed. And I know it sounds crazy, but I can't imagine me doing anything else.
Yeah, yeah. You had mentioned in the book the importance of having good morning rituals, not good morning rituals, but not the coffee and the bagel and the fruit, but morning rituals. Can you give us some examples of what those look like?
And again, that's an individual, is it something where we acknowledge, our losses or what's been bothering us or what is keeping us down, right? Like acknowledge and I think the biggest thing in this book is just acknowledging what we're mourning, what we're feeling. I think it's important to, like I said, meditate, to keep yourself grounded, surround yourself, in protection of white light. You create amazing energy for yourself every single day. Be careful who you choose to give your energy to. I think that is one of the lessons that I've learned, one of my most recent lessons. I work really hard at being a good person. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm naturally a good person. And I give so much of myself, and be very careful who you choose to share your energy with and give your energy to. Because life and people can be draining.
That is a very valuable lesson, I think. Where do we put our energy? Where do we give our energy? And acknowledging that there are people that are energy voids or energy black holes that tend to take a lot more than they give.
And I think it's hard, is it that Italian Catholic on how I was raised, of where, you want to do all these good things for people. And what I mean by, I think people think that doing things for yourself is selfish, and it's not. Self-care, morning rituals are very, very important, because and it's like that old saying, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will. You're responsible for your own happiness. People and things can make you happy, but you're responsible for your true happiness. So it's really, really important to take that time. And it's okay to say no sometimes. And I use this as an example, because everyone knows as a parent, right? We're in the middle of something, and then our children ask us to do something. We're expected to drop everything at that second. Sometimes maybe we can, but it's okay to say, you know what? I'll take you to the mall. Give me 15 minutes. I just need to finish up with what I'm doing. There's nothing wrong with that. And we shouldn't feel guilty about that. But we have a hard time doing that, right? We feel that we should just drop everything and do what we can. Are you laughing, Jason? Did that just happen to you? No.
Those who know me know I have 6-year-old twins at home, and they're in Montessori school. And one of the tenets of Montessori is that if a child needs to get an adult's attention, they touch their elbow, and they just hold their elbow until the adult is ready to. So if I'm talking with you, if we're having a conversation and my kid comes up and touches my elbow and holds onto my arm until it's time for me to address what they have to. It doesn't work all the time, but it is a good it's a good example of where you give that time, space, and energy in acknowledging that people need to wait and that kids need to have patience and those sort of things. So yeah, 6-year-old twins at home
is a thing. I think that's a hard lesson to learn is patience, right?
Truly. Speaking of patience, a number of folks that are viewing have asked, what does it take to get on your list to have a reading? And certainly, I'm sure there's a long line of people that are waiting to talk with you. What does that look like? What's that process?
There are a lot of rumors out there that there's a 10-year waiting list, 5-year waiting. All I know is that there's a list that,
I have no,
emails are, it all goes into one thing, the production company goes through the emails. People have said, how many times people say, oh, I thought that was, what do you call it? Like a solicitation, or I thought it was junk. Like I didn't really believe that someone would contact me. And some people, I just read someone recently, I think she's like, it's 4 years. She goes, I wrote in 5 years ago. She thought I never, ever would have thought, but timing was everything, because she had just lost someone that she really, not that she needed not to hear from that other person, because they came forward as well. But, timing really is everything.
That's interesting.
And also the interesting thing is, when I find is, people could love what I do, support what I do. They might even think that they want a reading. It's hard. It's not easy. It's very emotional, and it takes a lot of courage sometimes, I think. Especially now with people I find that people are afraid sometimes because they don't know what their loved ones are going to say. And I'm like, don't worry. They're not going to come through and say anything, bad. This is to help you. They're going to address the things that you need to hear. So sometimes it's worth the wait, They're
probably not going to say something that they wouldn't have said if they were with us today in the physical world. One of our viewers wants to know if there's ever been a time when you've been contacted and you don't know who it's for and how you find that person. And I guess you sort of talked about it a little bit in being out in the public and sort of stopping people on the sidewalk and saying, hey.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the person when I read them. That is one thing that I'm very fortunate, is that I haven't changed the way that I work. Yes, virtually. But what I mean by that is when I used to book my own appointments long before Long Island Medium, the only thing I had was someone's first name and their telephone number. I literally, I could show you my I know the night before, okay, I'm going to read Mary Ann. You know, half the time I don't even look at it. I have no idea. I just have someone's first name and that's it. So.
What's your puppy's name?
Oh, that's Bubba. Bubba is he's the smartest, dumbest dog you will ever meet in your life. He's so cute. He's so smart, but so stunad at the same time.
I have two of them at home as well. They're the smartest, dumbest dogs.
When you guys read the book and you read the chapter on the full nest, here I thought it was going to be this empty nester. Then the pandemic happened. It's like my son, you know, came back from the city with the two dogs. We have Louie here. My daughter's here and her fiance. So it's like my nest has never been fuller.
Exactly. Yeah. It has been a joy talking with you tonight, but I wanted to ask you if there's one thing that you wanted to share with folks that you want them to walk away with after reading your book.
I just want people to know, you know what, you're not alone. Good morning, whether you lost someone or not, it offers you faith and positivity. And I think we're all searching for that. And I think it gets you to realize that, you know, because we've been saying it for months, we're all the same. We're all in the same boat, right? We're just trying to navigate through this craziness. And I think Good Morning gives you that permission to feel what you're feeling and to know that it's okay. It's okay not to be okay sometimes. But you can't stay there. You know, you have to, yourself is worth fighting for. And I just want people to know that, that they are supported and that we will get through this. And something good and positive has to come out of this. I think people feel faithful after and most importantly, hopeful after reading the book. That's the feedback that I've been getting, that people just, they just feel good. They feel lighter. It's almost like they felt like they had a reading themselves. And that people say that they go, I literally heard your voice. Like I was reading the book and I'm like, that was Teresa's voice.
And we do need that permission right now, especially more than any other time right now. The permission to have terrible days and know that they're not going to last forever. Mm-hmm. Theresa Caputo, thank you so much for spending time with us, inviting us into your living room.
Thank you.
For all of our viewers here tonight, wanted to remind you that you can join us for other authors events. Go to ToledoLibrary.org/authors. And for those of you that purchased a book this evening, you can pick that up at your local branch, or if you want to call 419-259-5200 and figure out how to pick up your copy of the book. Others can pick it up at the library or at your independent bookseller if you like. Thank you again so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for joining. I appreciate it.